I'd like to talk again a little bit about UGTLDs and IDNs. By a bit of background, I'm a new ICANN board member, recently appointed. I've attended a fraction of a public meeting and a couple of telephone board meetings. My first full board meeting is in India in 2 weeks' time. So I'm not here to speak for the ICANN board. I'll just talk about things that I know are being discussed and are current issues, and things that don't have answers to at the moment. First of all, in relation to TLDs, there are domain names. There are about 150 million domain names registered at the moment, just to put a size on it. There are about 20 generic GTLDs, and there are about 252 CCTLDs. All these are in the Latin alphabet at the moment. And there are two things that are going on, and I think they need to thought about separately. One is increasing the number of generic TLDs, GTLDs, in the Latin alphabet, and the other is introducing new scripts which will support new languages. If we take the Latin alphabet, the English, the current one, the question of introducing new GTLDs has come up, and there's a general consensus that it would be a good thing to have many more GTLDs, and there's no reason why not. So why not have as many GTLDs as anybody is willing to register, and that tends to be the attitude in ICANN, that we open up the GTLD space and let have as many GTLDs as people are willing to come forward and venture on and pay whatever charge we raise for admission and the per second level domain name fee. And that process has been considered by the Generic Name Support Organization, the GNSO. They've come up with a set of general policies, and they're being reviewed at the moment. And we're trying to work out how we do this. How many can we cope with? If we can't cope with as many as applied for, what's the process of dealing with them? Do we use lotteries? Do we take them one at a time? What about conflicts? What happens if two organizations ask for the same name? What happens if someone asks for requests a name that is considered offensive by somebody? What happens if a name is requested that a government feels proprietary about? Perhaps the United Kingdom would be upset if .United Kingdom was registered. I don't know. So there are a whole lot of questions about how this process is going to work. And there's thinking about this, but there are no hard and firm answers. And if you're interested in what those answers should be, then there are processes in ICANN for you to get involved in monitoring the discussions and contribute to the discussions and find out how we should deal with these things. What strings should be permitted or not. Should, for example, major corporations like Coca-Cola be allowed to register .Coca-Cola? And if not, why? Or why not? Should Oxford be allowed to register .Oxford? Because they feel that that's the way they should reach out to their alumni. And why not? Should single character GTLDs be permitted? Why not? Should they be auctioned because they have value? Why or why not? If they are auctioned, where should these windfalls go to? And related questions is, should single character second levels be introduced? And if so, should be auctioned because they have value? And if so, where should the money go? So there are some very interesting questions that I would like to just to lay out there and see whether the people have opinions or answers about them. The second thing that's happening, and has happened technically, is the introduction of IDNs, coding for new scripts. And they've been tested, so there are a number of new scripts registered, example.test, I think, in a number of scripts, and you can go to the ICANN site and follow your way and get to them and see how your browsers work with Arabic scripts or Chinese scripts or Cyrillic scripts or whatever. And the first evidence is that the browsers didn't work very well, and they improved rapidly and are working now. But supposing that we introduce one new script, let's say, for example, the Cyrillic script. Does the concept of CCTLDs, country codes, in that Cyrillic script fit? There is no, as has been pointed out, there is no ISO 3166 list that can externalize the decision of what territories are to guide that. If there are CCTLDs, should there be one for each country where that script is where a language is represented in that script? Or should every one of the 3166 codes have the opportunity of having one or more names that are country names in that script? And if not, why not? Why should France not have .France in Chinese because it wants to represent its businesses to that 2 billion market? Maybe France doesn't want it, I don't know. So what are those issues, and how should they be addressed? And I don't know the answers to those questions. If there are CCTLDs, if there are CCIDNs, territory-specific CCTLDs that are permitted, are they like the existing CCTLDs, and that is they are somehow the sovereign property of the territory? Or are they more like GTLDs? After all, they are inventions of ICANN, and there's a registration fee and a fee per second level domain. And if so, how is Russia going to react to the idea that it pays a tax, as it might see it, to an international organization, which it might only see as an American organization, for every second level domain under the .Russia in a Cyrillic script? I don't know the answers to these questions, but they're very current, and we need to have answers to these questions. There is talk about a fast track, as if this will magically solve this problem by having a few, how many, quickly, to build up experience. But there's no answer to all the questions that I've already asked, which you need to answer before you approach the fast track. If you did introduce the Cyrillic script, then what influences do the other languages which are expressed in the Cyrillic script have, or is it dominated by Russia? If you look at the generic TLDs in each IDN script, you have all the same questions that you have in the Latin alphabet, except that you have none of the accumulated 10 years of experience of dealing with the business, industry, conflicts, unacceptable processes, and should, therefore, the IDNs be introduced in a controlled fashion, in an experimental fashion over time, as GTLDs were in the Latin alphabet? I don't know the answer to that. And so, rather than give views, I'm just raising some of the questions that I'm trying to get my mind around. Of course, I do have views on these things, but they're probably wrong. And so I'm really asking you what your views are on those things. And remember, for every script, there will be multiple languages, multiple interests, and the idea of, from my point of view, of introducing multiple IDNs at the same time is simply not going to work. So then, which do you introduce first? Thank you.